Good morning, Mohan. Great to have you on our program, The Business Detective. To begin, what made you get into education delivery?
Good morning, Dinesh. Thanks for having me here. Yes, we got into education a long time ago as IIT as a business, like more than 3 decades ago. I personally is new to education, I would say, as an industry. I come from a software engineering background. Of course, now it's a great partnership, pushing IIT to its new limits, I would say.
What are some of the challenges that you face in delivering good programs to Sri Lankan students?
In terms of challenges, I think first to create the awareness about what is good Dinesh, right? Of course, we have wonderful programs. All our programs are British certified programs. So in terms of quality, has been vetted and developed and validated every year, right? But in terms of creating the awareness, what is good in the market, it's a challenge, I would say, because it's a saturated market when it comes to education. All sort of qualities are out there. So I think even parents and students have a difficulty of selecting what is good. Yeah. So I think creating awareness, the proper yardstick for quality education, I think is a need.
Yeah. There are so many tertiary education and vocational training centers in Sri Lanka. Despite that, employers complain that they don't have the right skills. As a company, how are you all addressing this challenge?
Yeah, I mean, great question, Dinesh. Actually, this is something that I'm very focusedly working on these days. I think there's a difference in definition. I mean, if you don't mind, let me elaborate on that one. People call education and talent in the same sentence. But I think there are two different things. Yeah, we mistakenly think like every institute, every tertiary center is giving out a degree, is producing talent. I think that's the mistake we make. Yeah, education could be, it should not end up in a certificate, which we originally thought, right, as a degree or whatever. I think I call IITs in the business of developing skills. We are not in the business of producing degrees or certificates. That's the difference. I think that's of success. I mean, it's very evident with the very recent demand for this particular way of teaching. Also shows people have realized the need for the skill rather than a qualification, right? So I think that's the gap we have. But Dinesh, we have so many centers or education establishments who give away degrees or education certificates, but we have probably fewer establishments who are actually giving out skilled, competent youngsters out. That's the gap we see.
Okay. How do you compete with courses like SEMA, ACC, and all that, given that they have a international appeal and demand?
I mean, to the same point I said, regardless of the qualification or even its international, outlook, ultimately what companies are looking at the competency of the individual, not the certificate that you carry. Yeah. So unless you develop the skill set of the individual, qualification is a qualification, right? So people who have hired from us know that. I mean, that's why I think I told you when I met last time, we hardly have anybody waiting when our graduates go out. By the time of the convocation, nobody is waiting. And some of the companies complain, like, can we come and do a career day? I said, like, there's no career day. These guys have gone. Yeah. So I don't see any competition in that direction. I mean, as long as you develop skilled individuals, I mean, it's just enough opportunity out there in the market for everybody.
Okay. Mohan, what are some of your popular courses and how do you make it relevant and current?
I mean, our most popular course at the moment is software engineering and of course computer science. That's our biggest, probably close to 75% of our student population. And then we have business school, right? And if I talk about the engineering school, I mean, this is the oldest private engineering school in the country, and it has evolved over time. And as I said, it is very current, not only in local standards, even in international standards, right? Because this curriculum get validated and upgraded every year, not every 3 years or 4 years. We have annual validation program, right? So especially in a field that gets updated like monthly basis, not yearly basis, right? Unless you are updated by the time your guy graduated, 4 years is too long, very long. Yeah, so that's why we keep it up to date, and it's very popular. And also, when it comes to business, all our business courses have a very significant technology component. So all the business graduates also aware the use and the adaptation of technology, which is very, very important to this context, right? So I think that's the advantage these guys get when they go on the market.
As a company, how do you measure your success?
That's a good question. There are so many KPIs for that one, right? Of course, from a financial point of view, it's a very, very healthy growth. But I think as education establishment, I would say zero weighting graduates is my true measure of success, because we are in the business of making skillful individuals, right? So the real reflection of that objective is how many people are still waiting with their skill. And if it's zero, I think that's called successful.
Okay. Sri Lanka is looking to attract foreign direct investment, and one of the biggest challenges we face is the brain drain. As a professional, but advice would you give the government in terms of retaining some of these good people in Sri Lanka?
Great question, Dinesh. I mean, this is something that we are facing ourselves, but I truly believe if these individuals have equal opportunity as what they get when they go overseas, I think that's to work for an international company. That's the beauty of this industry. Yeah. And I would say good 90% of all the software companies are working at least one foreign client, right? So you are location independent. That's the biggest advantage I think this industry has. Government should more and more encourage software companies to get foreign projects, right? And probably give some tax reliefs or whatever, so they can pay more, or maybe like payment schemes like dollar pegging that most of the companies do now, which will attract the local talent and to retain them here, because it's almost the same benefit as you move out.
Mohan, also given that education is now becoming very expensive because of the depreciation of the rupee, what can schools like you all do to actually retain some of these people in Sri Lanka to get their education locally without having to go to England or Australia?
I think that's the biggest advantage we see with the students who are coming to us, Dinesh. Like if you compare the costs per se, I would say it is less than 25% of the total cost if you take the same degree in London, right? So you get educated, you get the qualification, the comfort of your own home with your parents and everybody here with the 25% of the cost. And once you get the degree, you have the opportunity working for a foreign company or local company, again, from your home country. I think that's great flexibility. This is the flexibility the Gen Z will look for. I think government should encourage more and more international qualification obtained at that host country or the local country. So people see it as a much more global market rather than a local market.
The Germans use a hybrid model where they, for example, study for 6 months, then go back to industry and then come back to the school again. How do you all manage this?
We do it slightly better than Germans, Dinesh. We actually have a full 1-year internship. I think probably the only one university in the country with such a internship. And we see great success of that one, because by the time they come and do their final year projects, which is their, the most important year, I would say, they have 1 year full industry experience. So they adapt those experiences in their final project. So that's why I said, by the time they get graduated, they are all ready. They are all ready to work in a company with the exposure they get. And also, I want to mention about another internship program we have, which we call a work study program, branded as InfoSchool. which is actually a 5-year internship. The student learn part-time and at the same time work for 5 years, right? And he earns his own funding. So to your earlier question, education getting expensive, and we have found this solution for people who cannot afford this kind of a degree. If you are still competent enough, you can get into this kind of program where the sponsor companies will pay for your education. And that is not the biggest advantage. By the time you get graduated in 5 years, you're a 5-year experienced engineer or an individual, and you have much higher demand than somebody who had been there in the school. So I think I'm completely in agreement with this hybrid model of learning, because I personally believe that's a true way of learning. You learn from the classroom, you learn hands-on, and you become a much more rounded individual by the time you come out.
Also, Mohan, do you all use mentors to get students ready for employment?
Absolutely. We have a career guidance unit or the placement unit that specifically work with industry. I think that's our biggest strength, Dinesh, the connection that we have with the industry. So we are not producing these guys after 4 years in this campus. So we are continuously working with these companies. We are like with 150 companies that we are working with back and forth. So we give the guidance, we tell, the potential careers that they can get with that degrees. So, by the time they come to second year, they are very well aware what are their options and where they want to go. And in the third year, they go to that place and work. And by the time they graduate, they have both of the skills, the vocational skill as well as the educational skill.
Mohan, what are some of the skills in demand currently?
I don't know. It's a big topic, Dinesh. Especially the data sciences are taking so much of demand, right? Because companies are realizing the importance of it. You would realize, right, when the resources are getting scarce, right? People will be depending on more on data for their decision making. So it's a huge demand in every industry, not only in software, every industry, right? So there's a huge demand in data sciences, and also when it comes to the tech companies, especially in AI, right? Again, optimize the resources. They are using more and more these technologies, right? But in general, we see a huge demand for software engineering, right? Who actually can actually get diverted into any of this, right? Be it blockchain, be it data science, be it AI, and robotics, all these ones which are in high demand. But because I think the world is in demand for more of resource optimization, right? And some of these courses that I just mentioned, right? Starting from cybersecurity, right? I just missed that, which has a huge demand due to the threats and security concerns out there. So these are the areas that more and more companies are asking. And then I'm happy to say that we have been catering for these demands or these courses for a long time. And those numbers have gone up. The students who are asking for these courses have really gone up.
Okay. Mohan, my final question to you is, what is your advice to an A-level student who has just got through A-levels?
My biggest advice is don't wait, right? Get into an area of your passion, right? Not what your mother said or not your father said, because there's a huge demand in the industry. Be it software, be it business, right? Be it logistics, anything, right? Important thing is to get to your passion, right? Identify and jump into it, right? Education is very important. You have to get skilled, right? A bachelor's degree is a given, not a kind of advantage. It's a given when it comes to a interview right now, right? But if you can get upskill in a master's or even higher education as to a PhD, I think you are differentiating yourself. So if you have just done your A-levels, don't waste your time. Get into a course, get into a degree program, keep upskilling yourself. At the same time, if you have an opportunity to do some hands-on work while you're studying, right? Be it an apprenticeship or placement, do that too, right? don't spend 100% of the time only in a classroom. That's my greatest advice for you, right? You do a degree, you get skill, but at the same time, if you can get hands-on experience, practical experience, I mean, the opportunities are limitless. And right now in Sri Lanka, there is a lot of opportunity, Dinesh. We are looking for people, we're short of people. And there are so many 175,000 people doing A-levels and getting ready for that. So I think we can tackle this problem. I honestly believe that, and education I see is the greatest answer for that.
Thank you, Mohan. It was great talking to you.
Thanks, Dinesh. Have a nice day.
Thank you.